A 95-pound Doberman sat in a shelter for 1,096 days. 3 families returned him. They all said the same thing. This dog is defective. He doesn't bark. Not once, not ever. But on a Sunday morning in March, after 3 years of complete silence, Phantom barked. Once. And that single bark saved a woman's life. He never barked. Not once. Not when strangers came to the door. Not when other dogs howled through the night. Not when fireworks shook the windows on the 4th of July. Nothing. Complete silence. His name was Phantom, a 95-pound black and tan Doberman with a chest like armor, ears that stood like radar towers, and eyes that followed everything without blinking. He was beautiful. He was powerful. And according to 3 families who returned him, he was completely defective. The first family wanted a guard dog. They brought him home, waited 2 weeks for a single bark, and gave up. He just stares, the husband told the shelter. It's like living with a statue. The second family tried harder. They hired a trainer who spent 3 sessions trying to trigger a bark. Doorbells, loud noises, even another dog barking directly in his face. Phantom sat perfectly still and watched like he was observing a science experiment. The trainer shrugged and said, "I've never seen anything like it. There's nothing wrong with him. He just doesn't bark." The third family lasted 9 days. The wife called the shelter in tears. "He follows me everywhere. He doesn't make a sound. He just stands behind me and stares. It's terrifying." Their exact words on the return form: no protective instinct, does not bark, does not alert, defective. Phantom spent 1,096 days at Ridgeview Animal Rescue. 3 years. No bark, no adoption, no second look. Most people walked past his kennel without stopping because he didn't do the things shelter dogs do. He didn't jump, he didn't cry, he didn't press himself against the cage begging for attention. He just sat in the back corner, watching, always watching. The shelter staff called him the ghost because you could forget he was there. He was the quietest dog in a building full of noise, and somehow that made him the scariest one. But what nobody understood was that Phantom wasn't broken. He wasn't defective. He was waiting. Nora was 34, a nurse who worked night shifts at a county hospital 40 minutes from her house. She lived alone in a 2-bedroom home on a dead-end street in rural Virginia. She wasn't looking for a guard dog. She wasn't looking for a barker. She had epilepsy, and what she needed was company. She walked through Ridgeview on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Every dog barked when she passed. Every dog except one. Phantom was lying in the back of his kennel, head on his paws, watching her with those unblinking amber eyes. No movement, no sound. "What's his story?" she asked. The volunteer sighed. "He doesn't bark. Ever. 3 families returned him because of it. He's been here almost 3 years." Nora crouched down. Phantom lifted his head. Slowly, he stood up, walked to the front of the kennel, and pressed his nose against the wire. Still silent. "Perfect," Nora said. "I work nights. The last thing I need is a dog who barks at 6 a.m. She signed the papers that afternoon. The first month was strange. Not bad, just strange. Phantom didn't chew anything. He didn't have accidents. He didn't beg for food. He simply existed in whatever room Nora was in. If she was in the kitchen, he was 3 feet behind her. If she was on the couch, he was on the floor beside her. If she was sleeping, he was at the foot of the bed. Silent, present, like a shadow with a heartbeat. Her coworker Lisa came over for dinner one night. She walked in, saw Phantom standing in the hallway staring at her, and nearly dropped the wine. "Nora, why is your dog just looking at me like that?" "That's just Phantom. He hasn't blinked. He does that." "Does he do anything?" "He follows me to the bathroom and watches me brush my teeth every single night. Does that count?" Lisa took a long sip of wine. "Honestly, a barking dog I can handle. This silence is way creepier." But Nora didn't mind. After 12-hour shifts surrounded by beeping monitors and screaming patients, coming home to absolute silence was a gift. Phantom didn't demand. He didn't perform. He just showed up. And every night, without fail, Phantom did something Nora didn't notice at first. At exactly 2:15 a.m., he would get up, walk through every room, stand at the front door for 30 seconds, then the back door for another 30, and return to the bedroom every single night. Here's something most people don't know about Dobermans. They were bred in Germany by a tax collector who needed a dog alert and intelligent enough to sense danger before it arrived. They don't need to bark to protect. Their awareness alone is their weapon. Phantom wasn't defective, he was doing his job, quietly. Now look, if you're still here and haven't subscribed yet, that hurts a little. These stories take everything we've got. Hit subscribe, because what happened next is the reason this story exists. It was a Sunday morning in March. Nora had just come home from a double shift, exhausted, running on coffee and 90 minutes of sleep. She sat down on the couch. Phantom was in his usual spot beside her. She felt it coming, the tingling in her hands, the metallic taste in her mouth. She had about 15 seconds before the seizure took over. She blacked out. What happened next, Nora only learned from her neighbor, Frank. Phantom barked. For the first time in 1,096 days, Phantom let out a sound that Frank described as the deepest, most terrifying bark I have ever heard. I thought someone was being murdered. Frank ran to Nora's door. He found her on the couch, seizing, her face turning blue. Phantom was standing over her, barking. He didn't stop until Frank was beside her. Frank called 911. Paramedics arrived in 7 minutes. The EMT told Frank that if she had been alone, the seizure could have caused her to stop breathing. "How did you know to come over?" Nora asked later. "Your dog. He barked." Phantom barked? Once, that's all it took. When Nora came home from the hospital, Phantom was waiting at the door, silent, watching. She knelt down and wrapped her arms around 95 pounds of warm, quiet Doberman. "You saved every bark you had," she whispered, for the one time it mattered. Today, Nora is 37, Phantom is 7. He still doesn't bark. He still does his 2:15 a.m. patrol, and every morning when Nora comes home from her night shift, Phantom is sitting at the front door, not barking, not whining, just there. Frank still tells the story to anyone who will listen. 1,096 days of nothing, and then one bark, and it saved her life. Some dogs speak with their voice. Phantom speaks with his presence, and when the moment came, he spoke louder than any dog ever could. Being a guardian doesn't mean being loud. It means showing up quietly every single day and saving your voice for the one moment the world needs to hear it. Would you trust a silent dog to protect you? Or does a dog need to bark to make you feel safe? Tell me in the comments.